Okay, number one for tonight is the Dune review, and though he is going to be on vacation and he's busy, probably busy packing. He looks busy packing for his trip. Greg Filson, one of the A Team hosts, is going to join us for the Dune review because this is one of the bigger movies of the year. So thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule, Greg, to join us for the Dune review.
I mean, I'm glad we could do this. I'm glad we were able to fit in because it is a huge movie, and to do it with our friend Ty, this is good stuff. So I'm excited to do it.
Yeah, you okay?
I'm okay. I'm
asking, is he okay?
Is Ty okay?
Yeah. My headset disconnected and reconnected, and my headset was talking to me, and I was like, "WTF is going on?" As your lips were moving, but I couldn't hear either one of you.
Amateur hour.
I'm also okay. I just want to make sure everyone else knows I'm okay. I have not stopped for about 2 weeks. So
I'm always a little concerned whether you're okay or not.
I mean, it is what it is with me.
Right, that's fair.
But I'm here. I'm ready to talk about this movie, which I'm excited about.
So Dune is the film adaptation of a novel many would argue is the greatest science fiction novel of all time, written by Frank Herbert in 1965. A failed miniseries starring General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, aka William Hurt, aired in the 90s. Can be purchased on VHS. I actually owned it until the long in development film adaptation in this past weekend came to American cinema as well as HBO Max. The film is directed by Dennis Villanueva, Charlie's cousin, and stars Tim Chalamet, Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin. Tim Chalamet, Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Javier Bardem, Jason Momoa, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, and Rebecca Ferguson. It had a budget of $165 million before marketing and has a current worldwide gross of $220 million and counting. Here's the thing about that before we get, is he French? Like, I'm asking this legitimately.
His family is French.
But is he French? Is he French?
He was born in the United States, but his family's French.
His name just looks too.
His name is Timothée Chalamet. It's like the most French name. Yeah, but his family's French.
I wasn't sure if it was a stage name.
No. His name is his family. He looks French too. Like if you've ever met someone he's a pretty handsome guy. He's like good looking. It was so funny. Time magazine had 2 covers this past week. One was Timothée Chalamet and the other was Mark Zuckerberg. And it's like, wow, what a 180 cover. One of the most disgusting people and one of the most prettiest people ever. No.
Oh.
Chalamet is one of the prettiest people ever grace our good earth. I am offended right now.
I have a feeling that I know how this is all going to go. So before we get into our thoughts at large, I think it's probably worth clarifying. Greg and I have not read the novel, and Ty has. That's accurate?
Correct.
So we'll get into kind of the one-to-one comparisons and that sort of thing, but just spoiler free. Let's start with Greg. What did you think of the movie spoiler free?
Spoiler free. This is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever watched. Just if you don't have sound on, if you have no idea what is going on in the plot, it looks amazing. Like that's what he's known for. Dennis Villanueva is like the movie. If you've seen Blade Runner 2049, like these movies look so good. You don't really have to care about the movie. If someone's not into sci-fi, which is more or less what he does, you can just watch the movie and just be enthralled by how great it looks. And that's actually one of those things where, initially before my life changed a lot, I was going to watch this movie twice so I could take it in visually and then take it in for the plot line. And because I knew it would be very intense. So it looks beautiful. It feels beautiful. It feels important. Like there's that thing where it's like, this feels like a movie that matters. And that's literally what I took away from it. Was like, and I didn't read the book, but I know the plot. Like having worked in a bookstore for the better part of 7 years, you know what Dune's about. And just being someone that likes literature, you understand what Dune's about. And so take a novel like this and to make it a movie, which is never been done correctly. And I like David Lynch as a director, but this was, his adaptation was critically panned, and it's very weird, very, very weird if you ever watched it. But just aesthetically, it's very pleasing. I think the acting is actually very well done. Anytime something's over the top, it's only because it needs to be. I think every single person in their role is actually doing the best thing they do in their role. Maybe we'll talk about Dave Bautista, but it's like Dave Bautista is only good when he's only being weird. And so he's so weird in this movie, and that's kind of perfect. And like Josh Brolin needs to be angry, so he's angry all the time. Timothée Chalamet is like very good at being angsty, and that's his character. So, and the thing is like we don't get Zendaya as much as we would like, but she's the second part of this movie. We all kind of know that going into it, and they lead into this. But no, I thought like just spoiler free, looks great, feels great. Really enjoyed it just on that end of things.
I know you were really looking forward to this, having read the novel and being a pretty big, vocal fan of the novel. What did you think of the movie, spoiler free?
So I think we're probably going to get into the differences between the book and the movie a little later. So I'll reserve some of my comments and thoughts on that. But I'll echo a lot of what Greg said. It was visually beautiful, very well acted. It's obviously something that a lot of people have been anxious to see, and how it was going to be done. There have been attempts at this. The work that it's being drawn from is immense. I think it's something like 200,000 words or something like that. Something like insane. Yeah. And in order to tackle that, the initial thought that I had was this is going to be ridiculous. That's going to be an abysmal failure. But then I was really encouraged. I don't remember like when I heard, but I was really encouraged when I started like reading up, and it said that it was going to be broken into parts. So that was really encouraging, because the books are like that a little bit, but also the story is just way too big. There's just way too much stuff going on. And the story, I think, is intentionally, like Frank Herbert's way of writing is intentionally confusing. And like Villanueva, I don't know how you guys interpreted this, but like as I was watching it, even like knowing what was going on, I was still kind of confused about like, what is a Harkonnen? What?
Just the spice is just a thing that we're supposed to know about, which is in the book too. I understand that, but it's like, I like that, but it is sort of vague. Yeah.
Yeah. There's an intentional, and it gets better as you go through the movie, but like there's an intentional, you don't know what I'm talking about going on for the first period of time. And it kind of like just kind of like slowly welcomes you in. And I think the way that it's shot and the way that the plot just kind of opens up to you it was really, really well done.
I kind of knew going into this that I was going to be the odd guy out as far as what my opinion is. I thought it was good, not great. I thought that, and we'll get into this with some of the characters, some of them I didn't particularly care for. The movie is, I would agree with both of you that it's visually very pleasing, but at this day and age, I need more than that, because Avatar's visually stunning. You know what I mean? And that movie's over 10 years old at this point. I guess my thing is that as I was watching it, there were two things that kept needling into my brain, which was this would work better as a series, as like a Game of Thrones, because that's the vibe I got. It's like, okay, this is Game of Thrones in space. There's political intrigue, there's backstabbing, there's, all this stuff, there's environmental tension, that sort of thing. I just felt like the whole time I'm like, damn, how good would this be stretched over a 10 episode season?
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's a hard ask at this point when you have Disney doing what they're doing with Star Wars and Marvel, what Game of Thrones is doing on HBO. You can make the argument that The Walking Dead, which is still somehow a thing. I just, that's what I was thinking, is like, man, and it's kind of like what you're saying is it's confusing. And I felt like the story was rushed, even though it was only probably, I'm guessing, half the book, or if even.
No, it's not even that. The first two parts are only the first half of the book.
Right. So, and that's where I was like, man, this would have made a hell of a series on HBO or a hell of a series on Amazon. You know what I mean? With the money they're putting into Lord of the Rings. And that's cool. I guess that was sort of the thing, was like, everyone talks this novel up. It's arguably the greatest science fiction novel of all time. I think a lot of people would argue with that. And I was expecting Lord of the Rings, and I felt like I got The Hobbit.
So I would say that, go ahead.
The other thing that I was, and this is probably going to piss Greg off. The other thing, or actually it might make him happy. The other thing that I couldn't get out of my head was, man, I wish they would have made this 25 years ago, because I think Christian Bale would have nailed the role as Paul. Like, absolutely crushed it.
I have said before that Timothée Chalamet is either going to be, he's going to be Christian Bale, or he's going to be someone that is bigger, like he's going to do things. Like he's the best.
Old.
Well, they were both in Little Women.
Right.
Paul's 15 years old.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, he is Christian Bale. That's why I love Timothée Chalamet. And right, Paul's 15 years old. So Timothée Chalamet looks very young. Yeah, he's 15.
He doesn't. He felt older than that to me.
He's also written older than that, but he's 15.
Yeah.
Also, the thing is like, this is set in the year 10,000, and this is just a thing about science fiction. Everything is always, it sucks. Once you get that far in the future, every science fiction writer is like, the world sucks and nothing is good at this time. And that just always kind of cracks me up. And I knew this with the book, but it's just like, we're fighting like we're fighting actual world wars, not like country wars, but actual, like, we're fighting wars with each other. Intergalactic wars, which is like funny to me. But
I do think that, especially of Greg and I, when we do movie reviews, I'm kind of the the grumpy, like, prove me wrong guy. And I will say that I was expecting to actually hate this movie.
I thought you would hate it.
There's something about it that just feels pretentious to me. But like I said, I liked several parts of it. There were some parts that just completely took me out of it, which we'll get to. But like I said, I thought it was good, not great, but I think it would function better as a long series. I mean, I don't like something of this level. It's hard to do it justice in, even if it's 4 2.5 hour movies. You know what I mean?
Well, so to jump on that, I don't think you're wrong, and I don't think that's not going to happen. Also, I think that there's an open window right now with Game of Thrones ending, but they're also going to, they're already going to do their 6 or 10 spinoffs of that. They're in production or whatever right now. So
yeah, we did the preview or the trailer a couple weeks ago.
And then you have the Lord of the Rings that's already, like, so there's only so many things that you can do on that scale right now. But if Dune becomes a series, there's also, I think, like 7 Dune books.
Yeah.
So there's an immense amount of source material to draw from, and to draw from the whole, Dune's the greatest sci-fi work of all time. I haven't read all of the books, obviously, but
I hear they get super weird. I heard the last 3 are, because Frank Herbert's actually like a weird guy, so I heard the last 3 are actually very weird and unreadable to most people that love that series.
Well, there's so I think that it's almost like unarguable that, like, God Messiah of Dune or something, like there's another Dune book that is actually almost unarguably better than this.
Right.
So
Okay, so let's get into spoilers. Spoiler alert. Here it comes.
Pause,
Here it
fast
comes.
forward.
Spoiler alert. Characters, plot points that stood out, good or bad. I'll volunteer as tribute. Dave Bautista is terrible at everything. He completely was immersion breaking for me. I've said it before and I will continue to say it for as long as we have this discussion. Great at Drax, because Drax is completely a wooden character.
Mm-hmm.
Anything other than that, awful. And even though his scenes, like, he's basically what we would refer to when we were kids playing like certain video games as a dumb and tough, like, even though that's what his function is, he's still bad at acting that somehow in this. And I was really fearful that he was going to be like the primary antagonist, not knowing anything about the story. I was fearful that he was going to have a huge role in this, and the fact that he only had like 3 minutes on camera, if even that much, did wonders for how much I like this movie. Jason Momoa, really cool guy in real life.
Idaho.
Not a great actor. Yeah, I was going to do a whole bit where we just introduced ourselves as the last name of a Spurs player in a state in the Union. Duncan, Idaho.
So
There's a whole thing about that where like the characters in this book are like insane. But
is there a character named Ginobili, Florida?
Dune 8.
Oh, it's in it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of that, Oscar Isaac, awesome. Wish he would have got more screen time. Spoilers there. I really like Josh Brolin's character as well, and I really liked Javier Bardem's character. Those were the three that really did it for me. Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista both kind of took me out of it a little bit, and then everybody else I felt like served their purpose.
So I think
nothing for Chalamet. I mean, I thought Chalamet was awesome. Like, I actually thought Chalamet, and this is not like me because I love Chalamet. I thought he was great. Like, I was like fully engulfed in Chalamet scenes. Like, he literally carried this movie to every single part of it, and he carried you to Brolin. He carried you you to every single thing. He's great. I think
you owe it to yourself to watch this movie twice.
Oh, 100%. That's my plan after this. I think this is a rewatchable movie.
Number one reason is because it's so confusing, but it's not as confusing as something like Tenet or something. It's not that hard. It's just once you get through it and you have kind of a comprehension of like the mechanics of the character names and the relationships and things like that, it's the linear plot lines are that much easier to understand. And going through it, like, I don't know if it's actually kind of really apparent what's even going on when the square-faced guy that shows up from the Emperor tells, I don't know what his name is, but he tells Duke Leto Atreides, hey, you have to go over here to Arrakis and replace the Harkonnens. Like, does that make any sense? Do you even know what that means?
No.
Or
you're not supposed.
What's going on?
Say you're not supposed to know. And like, I haven't read those books, but I know enough. Like, he kind of wants, like you said earlier, he kind of doesn't want you to know.
Right.
Yeah.
And
you're gonna figure it out, but like, you have to also have like
he wants you to finish the book.
You have to have like a perfect memory.
He wants you to go back. Like, the storyline of the book is, a lot of people told me, I have read this 3 times because I just want to have an idea of what is actually going on.
Yeah.
And it's like, this isn't a one-time through. This isn't, your hour and 30-minute comedy. This is a movie that, like I said, when I talked about, like, this is a movie that's supposed to mean something. It's supposed to be watched multiple times. Unfortunately, we're in an era where people are a little nervous to go out and see movies multiple times. And I think if I saw this on the big screen, I can't even imagine what I would feel like. I mean, definitely. I had goosebumps watching it on my crap TV that I need to replace. And it's like, I can't even imagine watching this on the big screen because the sounds, every time like that, like I love that. And so that's another thing that, like, just seeing us on the big screen probably would change my mind, but also just like, I do need to watch it again, and I will watch. I've watched Tenet 6 times now. I love that. I love that movie. It's gonna probably end up being in my like top 10 favorite movies when I'm 40 because I love that movie.
Something else that I'll throw out here is that this wasn't even in really the movie, and I don't even know if it's kind of observable or if you maybe guys would have looked past it, but like, so Jessica and Leto, they're so like Oscar Isaac and I don't know her real name, but like
Rebecca
Jessica,
Ferguson.
Yeah, they're in love, like they're basically husband wife, but like, is that transparent to you guys?
I mean, I knew that just because I kind of knew the plot line because I've seen the first movie. And so it's like, so
there's a whole story of the traitor being, you know, Dr. Yue and them, the Harkonnens, like pinning that on Jessica, like Jessica's the traitor, and Oscar Isaac's character knows that it's not Jessica because she would never do that to him. And that goes on for chapters, like that goes on for forever. So it's really strange that was not included in the book or in the movie at all. It's just like, oh, he gets hit with a dart and now he's dead, you know, like.
Right.
Yeah. And that's one of those, like, I don't think that it was too, I don't think it was that confusing. Like, things made sense later, sort of. It's like, okay, why are they doing that? Why are they switching these people out? Sort of deal. And it was almost, and I know I've made this comparison, it's not necessarily a one-to-one, but it was almost like, wow, you know, the Lannisters want the Starks out of the North, so make him king of the, okay, makes sense, whatever. And I followed it well enough. And the other thing too is like,
but the whole purpose was to kill all of the Atreides.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I got that. But I think the other thing too is, at the end of the day, this is a science fiction novel. Yeah. And I've read enough science fiction novels. There's enough shared elements. Guess what? If you pick up a fantasy novel, there's going to be a fucking troll in it. That's just how it goes. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be certain shared elements. I didn't get wrapped up too deeply in the story. I think it's kind of hard to even grade this because it's incomplete. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, and I got into a debate. I got into debate with some people online about the prequel Star Wars trilogy. And it's like everybody hated those. It's like, no, I was there. Everybody liked the Phantom Menace. Everybody was on board. It wasn't until after that, as a whole, the whole thing was judged. So I kind of think that you have to judge it. You can judge it in parts, as we are doing, but you're not really going to be able to put a whole thing on it until it's all.
You can wrap it, but you can't put the bow on it.
Right.
And I'll say though, like when it ends and, you know, Zendaya gives her line at the end, it's just like, that got me pumped. Like, I'm ready. And I knew obviously I watched it like 30 minutes before they actually announced it. Part 2 is actually going to come out.
Confirmed.
And I was like, well, you better do part 2 because I'm in on this.
I think there was a little bit of gamemanship involved there. They were never not.
I read some stories about it, and it felt like part 2 was going to come out like, I would say 85% chance. But there was this weird thing where it's like, well, you need to make, you know, like this, and of course you're going to make that much money,
right?
And things like that.
I think that they floated that out there.
Sure,
I think that there was a little bit of marketing gamesmanship involved. I think it's really good.
I mean, honestly, like, for what this is, encompassing something so massive and condensing it into this is as good of an adaptation of a book that I have not written, but know a lot, or written. I haven't written a novel like this either. That is true. That's actually a fact. I have not read, but to bring something that massive and take it down, like Lord of the Rings was 3 separate books. Like those movies, that's a different thing. That's the thing that people forget. Like, those books actually aren't that long, and they're actually not that complicated to get through. It really isn't. It's like,
they're also not that good.
No, and I was gonna say that, but I
Really
don't want the internet like going nuts on me. Like I would argue that the movies are better than the books in that
Yeah,
series.
I think so too.
And like, but Dune is like, yeah, I know people would argue that, but it's still an argument. I don't know what the best. There's no such thing as like the best thing ever written, because a lot of times it's whatever. Like
It's
my favorite
subjective,
book of
yeah.
all time is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. That's a personal thing for me.
Right.
Whether anyone else agrees with that, I don't care. That's literally how I feel about something like that. But Ty, having
Well, at this
read
point,
the
what
book,
I would say
I would
the
say-
book is better than the movie.
okay,
The movie's good. The book is much better.
So let's get into that. And PJ Strickler writes in and asks what the comparison to the novel is. Apples to apples, apples to oranges.
So, I mean, as you'd always expect, there's much more detail. Like you have a canvas that's a mile long versus a canvas that's 16 feet long. Like you just don't have the ability to cram that much information into, even if you did like The Irishman, like if you did a 3.5 or 4 hour movie, like it's going to go on and on and on. You're still not going to be able to fit that much information. So unless you did something like what Brenton suggested and made, 10 or 12 hours, like Band of Brothers or something, or Game of Thrones, in a mini series or some kind of an ongoing series, it's just not going to be possible. Where if like Game of Thrones, they're literally taking like chapters from books and making like screenplays.
Have you read any of the Game of Thrones books?
I've read parts of the first book. I've not gotten through it.
Yeah,
but
I can tell you that they're very accurate. But
yeah, like
an
I've
entire
read enough,
season is one book.
Right. I've read enough of the first book that I can like vividly point to like, oh, well, this is this scene in the show.
Right.
Like the accuracy from the books to the movies is dead on.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's obviously even more source material there where they're taking some liberties as they get through the show, but you're going to have to do that. But with this, it's just
fuck you, George.
Yeah, it's just too much. So you can't really do that in a 2.5 hour show. It's going to take you 30 or 40 hours just to read the book. So I don't know what your expectations are going to be there. The book is definitely going to be better just because it's complete.
Was there anything that they like totally bastardized? Because there is like later, even not in the seasons where they're past where the books are in Game of Thrones, they completely change character arcs. They kill characters who are still alive, that sort of thing. So is there anything that they took a lot of liberties with?
I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but like the only thing that stood out to me was the washing over of a couple of things. The Gom Jabbar scene, I think, is like several pages. Yeah, it's like several pages long in the chapter that it comes up, and it's like he grunts a little bit and then it's over. It's like maybe 30 seconds long, and you're like, okay, I guess it hurts when his hand's in there. Whatever. He passed. He's not an animal. He's a person. Neat. And it's like a very important thing. Like it's just things like that where it's in there. It comes out.
Right.
The relationship between Dr. Yui and the Atreides family, the relationship between Leto and Jessica, like the betrayal, the political discord between the Harkonnens and the Emperor and the Atreides family, like all of that stuff is just so deep in the novel. And it's, I think, just to not lose you, it's just glazed over and kind of oversimplified in the movie.
Okay.
Which is probably welcome. This probably could have been a rated R film instead of a PG-13 film pretty easily.
Just a quick thing is like Brent and I were talking about American Psycho yesterday, and you can't actually word
make
for word
American
translate
Psycho.
that.
Yeah.
You can't make that book a movie for what it is, because that book, Ty, you were there, you were firsthand. I would walk out of my bedroom and be like, I gotta take a break from that book.
Yeah.
Like I was like one of those things, like you can't, if you're reading that, if you're just like, I'm just gonna sit down and read this, beginning to end, you probably might kill someone.
Is
Like,
the
it's one of
urinal
those
cake?
things-
Is the urinal cake scene in the movie?
No, and it's the one
No,
scene
no.
that should be that's not.
It's the
Okay.
one thing it
It's
should be,
well,
but
it's
like leading,
it's in
but
there.
leading up to that is also super weird. Like that dinner scene is so screwed up to the urinal cakes, where he gets so mad and has so many like homicidal thoughts up to the urinal cake. So his idea, instead of killing this person, is let me give you a urinal cake. So
The scene where he breaks up with her is in the movie, and he gets like real frustrated because she does not understand that he's breaking up with her, but they leave the urinal cake out, and that's the one scene that's not in the movie that should be.
yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
I mean, he's chasing people with
But
chainsaws
I'm
and
just
stuff. You
pointing
can't have
out that,
somebody
like,
bite a
it's-
urinal cake.
Right. It's
Chocolate covered.
It's that thing
Right.
where it's like it's so
Minty.
hard to sometimes take like something like that and then you can't translate it because it's maybe too hard, or it just doesn't. It's not going to work. It just doesn't work.
The biggest thing is time. You know, they
Yeah,
had other
right.
things that they needed to accomplish. They had things that they needed to get to, and they had a checkpoint in the storyline, like the plot line that they needed to get to. And if they drew
Right.
this information out, like there's not enough room for it. So
So
they did a good job. I mean, they did a really good job of getting the plot moved along. The sandworms were cool. We didn't even mention the word
Yes.
sandworm yet.
Super cool.
How did we not do that? But like the sandworms are really, really scary and cool. I think I wanted to say this. It's like a combination of Tremors with the like art
Yes.
Tremors, the Matrix with the one, and like
Yeah.
some person has like the one true power, and they have like this awesomeness about them, and you don't really know who it is. Is it Jessica? Is it Paul? Like there's this neat little thing going on there. And Star Wars. I think it's a combination of those kind of three things.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat to me because
It's
all
funny.
three
It
of
was
those.
written in 1965, but it does definitely feel like Star Wars, like in a weird way. I definitely felt Star Warsy very early on this.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't to say I didn't get any Star Wars from this would be false, because like I said, it's a science fiction movie and there's a lot of shared elements, but I think that this is a wholly different story than Star Wars.
I'm not
Star
saying it follows the
Wars
Star
is-
Wars plot line. I'm just saying like
Yeah, that's
elements
what I
of it.
mean.
Like
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Star Wars is a I think, like I would say that this is more grounded in reality, as weird as that sounds for a science fiction movie. Like the story is more complex. Like Star Wars is I love Star Wars. It's my favorite thing.
something as simple as like the very first scene, like Paul is basically like using the Force on his mother.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I did think that. I was just like, okay. But it's a more complex story. Star Wars is it's basic. You know what I mean? It's not like there's not like George Lucas isn't gonna wow anybody, or any of these other folks gonna wow anybody with his storytelling. But yeah, I think Tremors, obviously, I'll tell you, that was probably honestly my favorite scene of the whole movie, was when they were going out to check on the spice mining apparatus, and the sandworm kind of came up, and because that was the only time that I really felt like danger.
Yeah.
And that was the thing is and I'm, as we've talked a lot about, like, a lot of the games that I play, like The Last of Us and Uncharted and stuff, I'm a sucker for environmental storytelling, and I felt like that was A+ in that regard.
Well, some of the premonitions that Paul has, and like Duncan Idaho dying in the future and him seeing
Sure.
it, and then it coming to fruition, and him dying specifically exactly in the same hallway.
Yeah.
He sees him laying there, and
Well, and I did have to like pause and look up what year this was written, because I was like, okay, who ripped off who here? And it looks like maybe George ripped off Frank a little bit, but that's one of those things. It's like it's really hard to make an original story at this point, when so many stories have been told. Greg, this one is kind of for you and me. John Kish writes
Sure.
in and says, seeing the movie made me want to check the books out. Does it make either non-book viewer feel the same way, or does it mirror Star Wars too closely to be of interest? I think that one was more specifically at me.
I've always wanted to read the books. I just like they're an endeavor that you know, when you're trying to read something that big, you need the time to actually do it, and that would be the only reason. But you know, if I get some time to do it, I would definitely. I know I would love the book. At least that one. I don't know going forward. I know Gods and Messiahs, like Ty said, is supposed to be a better book. But at least the first one I want to read.
Yeah, I've always, like, as a science fiction fan, there's always been a little bit of a pull for me to read the novels. It's just never been high on my priority list. I don't know that the movie moved the needle for me at all in that way. But maybe if the second one comes out and really blows me away, that might change it.
Sure.
But I just, you know, we'll just move on because we'll come back to it. What's your overall level of excitement? At the time that we wrote this, the sequel was not confirmed, but it has since been so confirmed today.
I'm very excited to see I mean, is this going to be like a trilogy, kind of like Matrix, Lord of the Rings, like the whole Star Wars, like everything that comes along? I assume that it's going to be, they're not going to be able to finish this in 2 shots. So we'll get more of that, and that's always a good thing for me.
Greg, where are you at?
My hope is that they just release it in theaters, so it forces me to go to a theater, because I think I would say I'm an 8 out of 10, like pumped to see it. Like, I think that next one is going to be super revealing, a lot of just everything we want from a movie like this. And also it forces me to see this in a theater, which would make this, I think, that much better.
I would say that the likelihood is very high. They're targeting a 2023 release date.
Right. Yeah.
For this, which is a fast turnaround, which that tells me that this movie's been in pre-production, like regardless of what they've said.
Let me circle back a second too, because when Fellowship of the Ring came out, I didn't watch it. I didn't care. I didn't even want to see it. I had no interest. I thought that was for dorks.
Right.
When The Two Towers came out, I was like, wait a second. This seems pretty neat. I got to check this out, but I need to see the first one first. And then I saw the first one, and then I saw Two Towers, and I was like, wow, okay.
Didn't we do this together? Because you and I were in the same boat. We're like dorks, nerds. And then you and I watched the first 2 together, and we're like, oh,
this is legit. Like,
this is legit. And then we saw the third one in Newcastle at midnight with Brenton, right? You were there, Brenton? And then Phil. Yeah,
Legolas and Aragorn are our boys.
Yeah.
Legolas is our homie.
Yeah, there's an irony.
Legolas.
To me, there's an irony in knowing what I know about you, that you thought that Lord of the Rings was for dorks.
Yeah, man.
That's
hey, I'll take them on
irony. Irony. I think that I think that my level of excitement to see a sequel after seeing the first one that I wasn't super excited for probably remains around the same. I'm probably like a 5 out of 6, 5 out of 10, 6 or 10, maybe 6. That's a lot of numbers flying around there.
So you're not excited to see the next one?
No, I wasn't.
What
really
are you excited about, Brenton?
I'm certainly excited for the Batman.
That ice cream bowl that's calling his name later.
I'm certainly excited for the Batman.
You got to get past your affair with Batman, man.
That's probably it. That's probably all.
Are you not excited for the new Spider-Man?
We've talked enough about that.
You're not excited, no.
It's interesting to me that you guys can in one sentence say make something new, but then you can't get past Batman.
That's fair.
Dune hasn't been made for 70 fucking years.
You
gotta watch Batman again.
I'm down. Like, I'm 100% in on this. Like, 8 out of 10 for me is like, I mean, I'm 8 out of 10 for Batman. I'm not 10 out of 10 for Batman because there's always that chance that there's something. The previews look awesome, but
like Dune is something new. But you're all rock hard for Batman.
I'm not. Yeah.
I guess the thing is, Brenton literally, like, when he says he's rock hard for you, like, that means Brenton's a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's
he's excited to go see the Indians play.
I'm
right. Rosario gets traded to the Braves and becomes the best player in baseball, and you're like, let me be excited about this.
Defend yourself.
I forgot he played for Cleveland this year. Eddie Rosario. I forgot that was a thing.
And he's the best player in all the playoffs.
How about that?
Every time,
you know what?
Every time the Dodgers were in a critical situation, it's always Rosario up the bat.
Yeah,
like,
well,
you
guess
gotta
what?
be kidding me.
It's
He's
small
amazing.
sample sizes, man. Jarrett Wright looked like he was going to be the next.
Oh, I know. I'm not saying
Andy
it's just hilarious
Koufax
to
in
me. It was just
97.
hilarious.
Anyway,
Like, yeah.
Defend your desire for new content and then poo-pooing it away for more Batman.
No, I don't think there's really no defense. I mean, we've said ad nauseum that we're hypocritical in certain capacities.
I'll defend Brenton. It's a different Batman. It
is.
Right, give me some Timothy Chalamet Spider-Man action.
Oh God, that would be horrible.
No, I think Timothy Chalamet.
I don't even like the current Spider-Man that much.
Yeah, you don't even like. He doesn't even like Tom Holland in Spider-Man,
Nah,
which is like insane to me.
No, I like Tom Holland Spider-Man. I don't like Tom Holland as literally anything else.
Right, which is fine. He's also like 25, and not everybody can be Timothy Chalamet or Florence Pugh at 25 and be like where they're going to make amazing things, or Saoirse Ronan at 27. So, but it is what it is. Is this the first Timothy Chalamet movie you've seen, Brenton?
What did I call him? Timothy Chalafont?
Yeah, yes, you did. Yeah. Did you do that on purpose?
Go.
I don't know his name.
See Hot Summer Nights. 100%.
Hot Summer Nights.
It's like you would. I pitched it to Brenton. He'll never see it. It's great. You'll love it. You'll love it, Ty. Brenton will not love it. Well, I don't know. You will actually love it. I will 100%. I'd be shocked if you didn't love it.
Hot Summer Nights. All right.
Hot Summer Nights. Yeah.
Is it like Wet Hot American Summer? Because
it's like a drug dealing movie, and Chalamet gets caught up in this whole thing, and it's great. So
it's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. I just want to say, because I looked at the questions and I won't be able to be on the pod, but I'm just going to run down my answers real quick. Super Nintendo, because I had the most games. Eddie Murphy Raw. Frozen pizza on a grill seems difficult to do. Seems weird.
I'm cutting
like
all
a mess.
this. Just FYI.
Denzel. Bad Company is my walk-up song for the past 20 years. Super Metroid. Yeah, I would run for 5 miles for free movies. That's not hard. And Dune and Teacher Books are my recommendations. So there you go. You get a little bit of the pod.
Cutting all that.
Add it at the end. That's funny.
I'll put it after the credits.
There you go.
That's fair. Any closing thoughts on Dune?
Don't listen to Brenton. The movie was good.
I didn't say it wasn't good. I said it was good. I said it was good, not great.
He did say that.
I said it was good.
It's definitely worth watching. And
yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah,
I would recommend it. Just because I'm not excited for a sequel doesn't mean I don't recommend it. It takes a lot to get me excited.
It sure does.
From movies.
In life.
It takes me a lot for movies to get.
You're more for TV series.
Nah, I don't even watch TV.
No, he doesn't like anything.
The Mandalorian he enjoys.
He does like that. That's it.
There you go. You want to know the thing I'm excited for? That's it.
Yeah.
Season 3.
You're excited for Luke Skywalker.
Can go. No, Luke Skywalker's not going to be in it. It's going to go away.
And the challenge.
I am excited for the challenge. All right, Greg, enjoy your vacation.
Thank you. 2 days.
Have fun there in the sun.
Whale's vagina. So I'm excited.
Down in San Diego.
All
right.
All right, guys.
Yep.